I'm going to talk about EPA issues, and they're very important to us, and it's going to actually take action on your part. And I want to identify this for you all. When this last proposed EPA rule came out Tuesday of last week, and Wednesday I got an email from a person in this community who actually cares a lot about this community, and that person asked me, what can I do? What can I say? And we had meetings this week, and I said, well, gosh, there's a hearing in Phoenix, and I can't be at the hearing. And this person said, well, I'll go. What is it that you want me to say? And I think what's really important about it is that that's the kind of community action and community activity that we need. Those are the kind of folks that will make things happen. And it's incredible leadership in my mind. And that person is right there. His name is Bob Jones. And if you'll stand up for a second, Bob, we appreciate that. And we applaud you. Thank you, Bob, for doing that. Bob was down in Phoenix, and he testified on behalf of the rural communities. And he testified on behalf of the rural communities about affordability of electricity. And actually, he's the only person who showed up from the rural parts of Arizona to show up to speak. So all of Arizona thanks you, Bob. Thank you very much for doing it. You helped us in the last couple of years on when we had the ACC had a potential stoppage of a rate reduction that we were going to get from our G&T. And I don't know if you all remember that, but you all rose up, or lots of you did, and you wrote in and you changed the ACC's mind, in my mind you certainly did, and allowed us to get that rate decrease, and we passed it right on to you. We actually gave a 0.3 cent reduction right in January on your bills, and if you look at your bill, you'll see that from January on. And we also have had an issue, an EPA issue that you all wrote in on, and we appreciate that too. But here we are, we're faced with another EPA issue. And this is the one that Mr. Jones went and talked about the impact in which that he testified. And it's more than just talking about it. He has to dress up, and sometimes, I don't know, did you wear socks, Bob, or not? No, this time you wore socks. All right, so Bob wore socks even, so that's pretty impressive that he dressed up to go down and talk about this. But let's talk about it. It's a challenge now, and we're talking to you about it now because you're the ones, we're the ones, and you're the ones. Whoever pays an electric bill, you all are going to be affected by this, and you all are the ones that are going to have to stand up and say something. You can't ask someone else to stand up and say something for you. You're going to have to do it. In this new proposed rule, and I'm going to skip to probably some of the bigger parts, but in Arizona, the goal is a 52% reduction in carbon intensity. It's the second highest reduction in all of the 50 United States. So one would think, or you might come to the conclusion, that we might be the second highest generator of carbon production. We're not. We're not even close to the second highest generation of this carbon production. We're about right in the middle. But for some reason, we're getting tagged with the second highest carbon reduction goal.
Obama hates us.
What's that?
Obama hates us.
Well, okay, the comment was Obama hates us. I really don't know that. I don't know the man. It might be a good guess, or it might be this guess too. I'm not really sure that our governor on the tarmac shaking her finger. I'm not really sure what it is, but EPA doesn't write they don't write on the proposed rule that this is a political decision. It would never be written on the rule that way, regardless of whether or not it was a political decision. There's flawed assumptions used by the EPA that it's going to be huge inequities between the states. And I'm going to show you some charts. And the charts are really where the data is. I'm just kind of setting them up, setting the charts up. EPA is picking winners and losers. When I say winners and losers, If you have to shut down coal-fired plants and you have to put something else in, your rates are going to go up. That's going to be the bottom line. And so they're picking whose rates are going to go up and whose rates are going to go up higher and whose rates aren't going to go up as high as fast. That's what we talk about with winners and losers. The EPA goal for reduction of coal generation, as an example, Kentucky's goal is a 1% reduction. Remember what ours was, right? 52%. So some logic might tell you that maybe we have 52 times the amount of carbon production. Wouldn't that maybe say that to you or something? You're going to try to reach for some logic. West Virginia, it's a 0% reduction. Arizona's is a 100% reduction. That's what EPA is asking. That's what EPA is proposing. 22 states emit carbon at higher levels than Arizona. 22 states, but we're second on the amount that has to be reduced. So we're sitting there right in the middle. 25 states produce more CO2 than Arizona. None of them have 52% of those 25 states. Is it starting to feel uncomfortable? Yeah. Is it starting to feel unreasonable? Yeah, it does to me too. We believe these rules proposed by EPA result in significant rate increases. One of the things that, the way I look at this, I'm a simple guy, and I'm sometimes probably not very smart. But in my mind, what this is like is that when you went out and built your house, and you built a brand new house, you built the most energy efficient house you could at the time, and you took out a mortgage. Most of us take out mortgages to buy houses, right? Very many of us, there are a bunch of us in here that pay cash. I don't know, I don't think so. Okay, Bob, you pay cash, all right. Other than Bob.
100 years ago.
And the rest of us, we had mortgages. And 10 years into that mortgage, the government said, by the way, you don't have the most energy efficient house. There's a new one that's more energy efficient. We need you to move into this new energy efficient house. We're not going to allow you to live in the one that you built. And your response is, okay, but what do I do with the next 20 years worth of payments? The government's telling you, you've got to pay them. When you say, well, what am I going to do with that new house you're making me live in? You got to buy it. So you got to continue to pay for the house that you don't get to live in, and you get to build a new house. That's what's being said here. Does that make sense to you? If the local government, if the Bullhead City said that's what you need to do, would you stand still for that?
No. Hell no.
Yeah, there you go. That's the answer I was looking for. I'm trying not to swear. Thank you. I need you all to swear for me. Our ability to attract businesses to our area, it really hinges on our cost of our rates. If you're a business, if you're a large business, if you're a mining business, if you're a business that builds things, if you're manufacturing, what's one of your largest costs? Energy. It's electricity. So now if you have a choice of going to a place that has a high electricity rate or low, where are you going to go? You're going to go to low. When companies decide to locate or expand, Arizona might not be in the top of their list. Do we know something about this? Have we experienced this? Is there anyone here, and I can't tell by looking at you if any of you are old enough to have been here back in 2005. But if you were here in 2005, do you all remember the closing of that station across the river?
Yes.
Yes.
Did that have an impact on this rural community?
Yes.
Had a huge impact on this rural community. 300 jobs. Now, is that just jobs? Were there just a job there, or might there have been a family there with kids? A spouse. That spouse was working here. The kids went to school. They shopped at grocery stores. They shopped at the tire shop. They bought vehicles. It's a huge impact. $360 million of economic impact to this tri-state area. Huge issue. And who does it impact? Us. And when we say us, who is us? The rural communities. Are there very many of these coal-fired plants in downtown Phoenix? Nope. How about Tucson? Nope. Probably not. They're all out in the rural areas. So what this target is, certainly feels like to me, is rural. We're all rural. That's who will get affected by this particular rule. That lasting effect of that plant closure, have we recovered yet from that plant closure? No. 2005? I don't think so. We certainly haven't. Now I'm going to get you. This is the chart. This is where the data is, and this isn't. This is just data. So this is just information and data. This is. I'm trying not to be. I'm not being a politician. I'm just not filling you with BS. I'm just going to show you data. There we are, Arizona. Look at that number. And I don't want to go through all the rest of the stuff, but it's 24 million something. That's our historical coal generation use. Look over there, that's the number over there, 100% reduction. That's what we need to get, 100% reduction. And if you see that 100% reduction, it talks about it due to natural gas combustion something, redispatch, meaning that it's a new gas unit, or buying a gas unit, or buying the output of a gas unit. Remember that house example I told you? We have to get out of this house, still keep paying for it, and we got to buy into that house and live into that one. That's what they're telling you. Now look at these numbers. Is anyone even close? And I don't even count California. Those are already in the process of being decommissioned. So from that perspective, it's so what that they're 100% reduction. Look at that number. It's amazing. It's incredible. These other numbers are amazing also, but I want to go to some other stuff that really will start pointing it out. Texas. Yeah, look at Texas. Look at there, 51.91%. They're right next to us, aren't they, for the amount reduction? Texas and Arizona. What color states are those states? Red states. Oh, that's right. They are. They are Republican states. It's a good point. Didn't even think of that. I hadn't even thought of that. Thank you, James. Yeah, look down there. That's what I'm trying to get you. Look at Pennsylvania. 87 million. Now, what was our number again? 24. 3 times the amount. How much do they have to reduce? 10%. What color is Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania has voted blue for the last. All right, let's keep looking here because this just gets better and better. Let's look here at Kansas. A little bit more than we have. What's their number? 0. Wow, that's just absolutely mad. West Virginia, just about 3 times the amount. What's their number? 0. Can anyone figure out some logic in this? You can. I'm talking logic. I'm not talking some obscure political garbage. I'm talking logic. I'm an engineer. I think in logical terms. I don't get it. There's Wyoming. Look at that. Look at all these other places. Look at Kentucky. Over 3 times the amount, a 1% reduction. Does it feel like that Arizona's being picked on? Yes. All right. Do the numbers show you that? Do I need to convince you of it in any particular way? No, I don't think so. But we need you to act. I need to act. You need to act. You need to act. You need to tell your neighbors, your parents, your kids, your spouses, whoever it is, go to your church. You need to talk to folks about lending your voice to this issue. Because where I came from, the way we said this ain't right. I'm going to briefly talk about this because this is somewhat of a success story that'll tell you why you need to be involved. Is that we had a regional haze issue. What is regional haze? Regional haze is the stuff, whether or not you can see it. It's not a health issue. It's a visibility issue. And EPA was asking us to upgrade, do some changes, invest some money for the for down in near Apache substation, which is close to the border of Mexico. Now we live out in the desert, and does the wind blow at all? Sometimes, all right. And is there any dust?
What's the name of the school?
Yeah, Dust Devil. Yeah, we're right here at the Dust Devil. Dirt in the air. When you're down at the border of Mexico, around the border of Mexico, right down along that border, there's 2 refineries, and there's a generating plant. Do you think that they're all nice and clean, all that stuff that's coming out of there, right across the border? Which is the predominant wind direction?
North.
Right into us. So what we're talking about is the EPA basically said, you, because we can make you suffer, you need to clean it up for everyone, for everything and everyone. Now, EPA said that solution is going to cost $192 million. We figured out, and Mr. Ledger and his folks were very instrumental in figuring it out, but you all were very instrumental in raising your voice. And we had the most number of voices raised in rural Arizona as far as cooperatives concerned, came from Mohave Electric. And we raised our voices and said, that's a bad idea. You ought to let us do a less cost. Do something else. It's probably even better. And Mr. Ledger and his folks did find something that was better. And EPA now is moving towards that. They actually listened and they said, yeah, that's a good point, and we're going to do something different. So it changed, and it changed not just because we had a better idea, but because you all yelled and screamed. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about this administration. When this administration ran in 2008, this administration talked about an all of the above, meaning they talked about embracing all technology. That would renewables, that would be renewables, that would be coal, that would be nuclear, that would be all of the above, all fuel sources. Right here, you see this dark area right here? Blanked out area? Guess what that is? That's coal. So that means in abandoning, this administration, in abandoning that all of the above for a single plan, that's over 50%. We have to shut down and we have to build and create. And by the way, where does that coal come from? Right here in the good old US of A. Are there people that work in that? Are there people that have jobs in that? Yeah, does this sound like it's a good idea to kill jobs at this time in this economy? Does that feel right to you? Doesn't feel right to me. Maybe I'm just stupid because I'm not back in the Beltway of Washington. Maybe I would get it if I was back in Washington. Technology gamble. What are we talking about here? It's that carbon capture and sequestration technology. That's what they're asking us to deploy, which is capturing carbon and trying to find a way in which to hold it somewhere, like push it in the ground and hold it there. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? Doesn't make sense to me at all. But let's just say that we had been to Washington enough that all of a sudden it makes sense to us. And let me ask this, if I went out and tried to buy it, I went out and said, look, I need to buy this. I need to get this technology, I'm going to issue a bid for it. Guess how many people would bid on it? 0. The technology doesn't exist. They're asking us to deploy a technology that doesn't exist. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office of this United States of America, estimates a 75% increase to the cost of generating electricity as a result of this rule. That's Washington telling us what the cost is going to be. All right. Coal is the most used energy source in the United States. It's abundant. It's a natural resource. It feels ridiculous to remove our own natural resource where we actually end up having to be dependent on something else. Dependent even maybe on a different country. Let me ask you this question. If that coal's not used here and it's shipped somewhere else, let's say to Mexico or China, is that going to all of a sudden be clean coming out of those smokestacks? It probably isn't now, but that unclean stuff, it stops right at the border, doesn't it? It just stops right there. Really makes sense, doesn't it? Makes incredible amounts of sense, if you're in Washington, I guess. History repeats itself. This is really important for you to understand, is that in 1978, Congress said you can't use natural gas as a fuel source for generating electricity. And you know, it's hard enough for me to understand any politician, much less to go back to 78 and try to say what they were trying to do in 1978. But they did. What did people then build? Coal plants. So that was one of the big things they built, was coal plants. And they built them because you can't build natural gas. 9 years later, they said, oops, that was a mistake. Now let's go ahead and allow natural gas to be used. Now we have 9 years of people building coal plants, and now we're going to penalize those people all these years later because they weren't allowed to do something different. Is it still any of this making sense to any of you? Still, it doesn't to me either. And as a matter of fact, the coal plants that we're talking about were built in the late 70s. It was impacted. The coal plants that we have were impacted by these rulings. We followed the law when we constructed these power plants. We followed the law, we followed the regulations, we followed all of that. Let me ask you this question. You built your house, and there's a set of codes that you built it to, right? There's a set of codes, whatever it was. And you built it to what the codes were at the time. Now, 10 years later, somebody decided to change the codes. Is it all right for them to say, move out of that house? Bulldoze that thing? And if they tried to do that to you, what would you do?
Get mad.
You'd get mad. Yeah, I think the term was, somebody said something. Hell no. That's what somebody said. That's what I thought I heard. That's what's going on right here. Our members can't afford for us to switch again. With so much investment still on the line, so much investment we still have to pay for. And then adding investment to upgrades for emission controls. We can't let the EPA ignore the remaining useful life of coal plants or the payments on these plants. We can't let them ignore that. What do the co-ops believe in? We believe in all of the above. We think that there's a balance out there, and that balance is a reasonable approach. And that reasonable approach should be using reasonably all of the resources in a correct balance, not all of one and none of some. Doesn't make any sense. We also really believe in energy efficiency, to use energy wisely. Keep costs affordable. What's the cleanest and the cheapest kilowatt hour out there? The one you didn't use, that I didn't generate and you didn't pay for. That's the cleanest and that's the cheapest one. So energy efficiency we believe in totally. But we need a reasonable approach to our national energy policy. We need one that embraces this and embraces thinking people. And we don't have enough scientists and engineers back in Washington. We have politicians back in Washington. And having politicians make an energy policy is a scary thing. But the track we're on is not this reasonable approach. And what are we doing at the cooperative? Well, this is us back in Washington, and you see, probably tell that's me. I think that's probably the same bolo tie. If you see a bolo tie in Washington, it's either me or someone from Texas. Nobody else in Washington's wearing those. But we're talking to Representative Gosar. Is he on our side? Yes, he is. He is on our side. And that message, Dr. Cobb will make sure that message gets to Dr. Gosar here too. And I'm sure she supports the same concept. But that's when we were back in Washington, we were talking to them saying, hey, we need help. Did anyone notice Tuesday, a few days later, was there a letter to the editor, right?
Yes.
From Dr. Gosar.
Yes.
There was a letter to the editor speaking on this particular issue. We have these. If you look in your bag, there's one in your bag. You need to fill those out. But you not only need to fill those out, you need to get a lot of people to fill those out. And we will have, you talked to Peggy, you saw Peggy up here, right? You saw Peggy, she's out here. If you run out of them, ask for more. We'll keep asking for them. We have 600, we've almost already run out of 600. We asked for 2,000 more. And Mr. Ledger is the head of the organization that prints them for us. Pat, will we get some more? We're going to get some more then. We'll get thousands more. We have a goal, and our goal is, and we need you to help us with that goal. Let's get 4,000 of these from us. We led the state when we had 1,500, 1,600. Let's get 4,000 or more of these, and that means you. I can't fill them out for you. I can't do that. My voice is one voice. You have to help us. You have to get your voice. And who are you helping?
Everybody.
You're helping yourself when you're doing this. You're helping your neighbor when you're doing this. So we have these, and we'll get more of these. Now granted, there's an address and an email required or asked for. You don't have to have that in there. And I'll also tell you this, your email address is not being sold to telemarketers if you put it on there. The only reason it's on there is if the elected officials who eventually do see this want to contact you for a question, that's what it's for. But I've been doing this for a while. I never got anything from Ronco or something else asking me to buy something. And all the years I've been doing it, it's not happening. But But you don't have to have that. We need your name, we need your signature, and there's Mohave Electric Cooperative. If you go onto our website, there's a little button on the lower right-hand corner that says action.coop. You click on that action.coop and you'll come to this page, and you see right there, tell EPA. You click on that thing and this will come up. And you can do the same thing online, you can do the same thing. Yes, Jay?
Are they still doing the comment section for this?
Yes. So this is a proposed rule, so it is comment section right now.
Okay, but they always have a comment time period?
We're in the comment time period.
Okay.
Started Tuesday.
And when does it end?
Well, that's a good question. Typically it's 60 days. We're petitioning to get longer, but I just suggest to you all is that you pretend it's 60 days and get off there and get as much as you can done. We're going to petition for longer, but you know, if you got 6 months, is that going to give you any? No, you need to get out and get this done, right? We need to get out and get her done. So, yes, sir.
Is the EPA concerned about carbon or carbon dioxide?
They believe that carbon dioxide is carbon.
No, it isn't. Carbon dioxide is not. The earth has to have carbon dioxide.
Well, and guess what?
Breathe out carbon dioxide.
Very good.
It'll have of us.
Please. See, there's a comment section right there.
It makes no sense.
You're yelling at the pastor here. You're yelling at the pastor. Right there is where you do it. Right here. Not against you. Is there a little bit of carbon in your structure? I mean, do we have some carbon in us?
Well, lots of it. Yeah, but when we breathe out.
We have lots of it. Yeah, that's right. So maybe we should be part of the carbon reduction, I guess. I don't know. This was on the paper the other day. There's that person right there. There's jobs. That's what this EPA ruling is right there.